Sometimes we love Apple, sometimes we hate them like any other company, but this week, a lot of people hate them. So Apple actually started this week off quite well. They had the spring-loaded event, they showed off new iMacs, they showed off new iPad Pros, AirTags, loads of stuff. Great reception, except for the iMacs where some people were a bit about the design. The one thing that took off from that event, surprisingly, was AirTags. A lot of people were anticipating it, and I couldn't even get mine for the actual release date. I've got mine coming in the middle of May. But while all that goodness was going off, Apple actually got hacked and a bunch of their schematics got taken from their servers. Right now it's unknown exactly what schematics were taken, except for one, which I'll get onto, but the hacker group threatened to release one every single day where Apple didn't pay them $50 million. And of course, I don't know if Apple didn't see them as a threat or didn't think they were serious or just thought it might be good marketing in some way, but they released a MacBook Pro schematic which essentially reveals a bunch of features coming in their next revision. And the main noticeable features of that schematic were a HDMI port, an SD card reader, and a MagSafe connector. And judging from the reception from a bunch of channels and my own TikTok, which you should go follow by the way, it's a bit of a mixed bag of reactions. The SD card reader has been received pretty well because a lot of Mac users are photographers and videographers, so having an inbuilt SD card reader kind of removes that necessity for a dongle or an adapter or whatever. The MagSafe connectors had a lot of mixed reactions because a lot of people miss the old MagSafe connectors. However, a lot of people wanted them to go to Type-C so that they have a universal connector for all the devices. Whereas now they're going to have to carry around an extra charger specifically for their MacBook, which can only charge their MacBook. And some people also pointed out that it doesn't really fit with Apple's whole environmental push to bring out a device with its own charger, which is going to have to be shipped with the device. And that essentially having a Type-C adapter would help a lot with the environmental cause that they're going for. And then the HDMI has kind of been a bit like a no-go for a lot of people because it's going to maybe increase the thickness of the MacBook itself, and the Type-C adapters can already do it with a dongle. And to be honest, unless you're thinking of putting it in an actual setup, you don't really need HDMI, especially with the new Apple TV where you can just cast your MacBook screen straight to it. Anyway, aside from schematics, throughout this week, Apple have got 3 lawsuits coming their way, 2 that are class action. The first one comes from a guy who had $24,000 worth of content attached to his Apple ID, and then Apple decided to terminate his account for terms of service reasons. Now, he's not suing them because he lost $24,000, he's suing them because he thinks that their terms of service are unlawful, that it just allows them to get rid of all of his stuff like that. But Apple's terms of service are clear, and you do agree to them when you sign up, so if he did break terms of service, they have every right to delete his account. Now yes, it's a lot of money, and they probably should have given him some kind of warning, but they're not obliged to. But at the same time, this guy losing $24,000, you kind of feel for the guy, but at the same time, if he clearly broke terms of service, then that is his own fault. The next lawsuit, which is the class action one, is about the buy button on Apple TV with the TV shows and the movies, and essentially how it's wrong and misleading because you buy it, you're just renting it for life until Apple decide to delete it. Most companies work like this, like Microsoft work like this, Sony work like this with PlayStation games and Xbox games. It's not really anything new. But of course, they go and target Apple with it because for some reason, again, everyone this week seems to hate Apple. Now, I know for a fact that if I had a TV show or a movie that I was halfway through watching and then it got removed from their service, I'd be annoyed. It's happened to me on Netflix a few times. However, on Netflix, you're paying for the subscription and you're kind of aware that that's going to happen. Whereas on Apple, if you're buying something, it's supposed to be yours and not just a lease. So I can see from their point of view why it's misleading, and Apple might need to go through the terms of service and word it better, or even change the buy button to a rent button. And then the last lawsuit, which is again another class action one, is about Apple's water resistance claim, essentially saying that Apple misleads people into how waterproof their phones are. Over the years, Apple phones have become more water resistant, with them first being IP67, then moving up to IP68, and the new iPhone 12 is water resistant up to 6 meters for half an hour, which is great. However, they are under lab conditions in clean water, literally nothing in it but water. And that's what this lawsuit is aimed at, because the average consumer isn't going to know that it was done in a lab, and they might take it near a pool or in the sea, and the chemicals and other things in there will destroy the water sealant, and then, you know, your phone's dead. And then the other thing the lawsuit aims at is the fact that they don't cover that under warranty. Now, if you know any company's warranty when it comes to waterproof things, you'll know that they kind of just deny everything that has water damage, because there's no way to prove that you actually listened to their instructions and didn't like leave the SIM tray half out or broke a port or something like that. But at the same time, there's no way to prove that you didn't do that, so they kind of go on the safer end and just deny everything. And most of the time it works off of a little red sticker inside of the phone, which tells them if there's been any moisture inside the phone whatsoever. And usually if that's red, they'll just turn around and be like, it's tough. Which is great for them because, you know, that stops people from faking it, but at the same time, it can be triggered by other things. I used to have an old Samsung J5 2016, which I never ever water damaged, didn't even take in a damp room or anything like that. The purple sticker inside, which is what Samsung uses, was fully purple, like it had been water damaged, and I have no idea why to this day. But if that had been an iPhone and I'd then damaged the iPhone, and they'd seen that it was water damaged even though it never had actually been water damaged, they wouldn't have took it in to repair it. The lawsuit itself was triggered by a woman who had an iPhone 8 that got damaged by pool water, because obviously that has chemicals like chlorine in. And she's saying that because it's advertised as IP67 water resistant and she didn't even submerge the phone, Apple are in the wrong and they should repair it for her. And she does have every right to ask them to do that because she didn't actually break the phone intentionally or take it underwater. It got splashed, which is completely resistant against, or it should be at least. In Apple's eyes, there's no way to prove that she didn't go and dunk that in the water, have the SIM tray out, break one of the ports or the sealant, and they don't know that, and that keeps Apple safe, but also screws the consumer over. And the way this lawsuit's going, and the fact that Apple are having to deal with so much crap right now, might mean that Apple might try and cover some water damage in the future, which would be really great, because right now a lot of people have to pay for insurance for water damage. And the lawsuit itself is actually trying to make it so that Apple will cover damage under that IP whatever rating. Because the thing is, there's no way to know whether the phone was faulty, but at the same time, there's no way to know whether the consumer was lying. But you could also apply that to stuff like cracked screens. Like a lot of insurance providers say that if you broke your phone screen or anything to do with the phone really, intentionally, they won't cover it. But there's no way for them to actually know that you didn't break it intentionally just to get the money. We'll have to watch this lawsuit very carefully, but they could bring something in where they basically do what they do with screens, where they repair it and presume it was accidental rather than presuming it was on purpose and just keeping themselves safe. So yeah, it's been a pretty rubbish week for Apple other than the spring-loaded event. Also, if you did like this video, consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. This is my first proper technology video in a while, and I'm thinking of starting to upload regularly on here. So a sub and a like maybe would be very appreciated, and hopefully I'll see you guys whenever I make another video. Gonna try and be consistent with them. Bye bye.